Hello there, my name is John Hathaway and thank you for tuning into my channel. Today I wanted to just talk about a new series that I'm going to be doing on this channel shortly, and it's going to be called Unmasking Religion. And it's about giving hope for believers who are outgrowing like fundamentalist Christianity and things like that. So I'm pretty excited about this. There's several different topics that I'd like to discuss, and I would also like to hear any feedback from my audience. So if you guys have any ideas or topics that you would like to discuss, I'd be more than happy to do that on a future episode. Now, if you enjoy this channel, if you like the content you get here and you want to see it continue to grow, and you'd like to see more content, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe. Make sure that you like this video and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any future content. Now, this isn't going to be a long episode or a long video. I'm not doing a whole episode right now, but this is just more of a teaser of what's to come in this new series. I plan to release a video each Friday, starting this Friday, if everything goes according to plan. So yeah, there's some of the topics, basically what this series is going to be about. I know I said it's going to be about helping believers who are outgrowing fundamentalism and things like that. And I'll just kind of give you a little bit of background for myself and why I see that this is an important topic to cover, an important series as well. So, as many of you may know, I spent a good deal of my life in fundamentalist Christianity. I didn't necessarily grow up in a fundamentalist church, but my beliefs were probably of the fundamentalist mindset for most of my life. And when I was about 19 years old, I joined a fundamentalist church. I became a member, and I got saved, got born again, and basically was all in with everything that they taught and they believed. And that lasted for about 10 to 12 years. And then some point, really it was around 2020, 2021 that I left that movement and then started to question a lot of the beliefs that I had growing up and the beliefs that I've held in fundamentalism for many years. So that's kind of why I'm wanting to do this series, is to help, because some of you, if you're going through anything similar to what I was going through during that time, and I'd say that I'm still going through some of this, it's probably an ongoing process or a gradual process, but really starting around the year 2019 or 2020 is when I started to see a lot of inconsistencies and hypocrisy and double standards in a lot of the beliefs that were taught at the churches that I was in at the time. And I just saw a lot of priorities were out of whack, and they were focused all on they were pretty much all focused on like making sure that you have all the correct beliefs, and they were focused on like numbers and making sure that we're trying to get as many people into the church doors. And also it was a big thing about the movement that I was in, the Independent Fundamental Baptist movement. And I'm not throwing shade at anybody who's in that movement. I have family members that are in that movement that I love dearly, and I highly respect them, and I don't think anything negatively towards them. And I think that there's a lot of independent Baptist churches that are starting to see the problems in the IFB movement, and they're starting to correct some of those issues. So I do see some improvement in some of those churches, but really some of the issues that I saw was like, I saw that they were more focused on like making sure that everyone was saved and that they were going to heaven when they die and stuff like that, but they weren't focused on like living a meaningful life while here on earth. It was basically all focused on the afterlife and making sure that you weren't going to hell. and things like that, and that everyone was going to heaven. But when it came to like discipleship and helping people to live abundant lives while here on earth, and healthy lives, and having a good mental health, and all kinds of things like that, that seemed to be really lacking in that fundamentalist culture. So I'm just going to share a few ideas that I plan to talk about in future episodes. And if any of these resonate with you, or that if they sound interesting or something that you'd like to hear more about, or if there's something that I don't mention that you would like covered in this series of Unmasking Religion. And another reason why I use that term, unmasking religion, is because I felt like for the longest time when I was a fundamentalist, I felt like I was wearing this mask of like that I was a perfect Christian, or like not a perfect Christian. I would have never thought myself to be a perfect Christian, but basically I heard someone use the term super Christian before, like basically that you have it figured out, and you know all the right beliefs, and you have the right version of the Bible, and you're going to the right denomination of church, and you're going out and you're winning souls for the Lord, and you're listening to the correct kind of music, and you're not going out into bars and smoking and drinking and cussing and all that kind of stuff. And that's what I would consider someone like, if you fit that kind of person, which that's the kind of person that I saw myself as when I was a fundamentalist, then that's kind of like considering yourself to be a super Christian, like you're one of God's elite that has everything figured out. And while the rest of the world and most of Christianity is basically being deceived. And I think that that's not a healthy way to approach religion and Christianity and the faith. So that's why, I felt like I was wearing a mask that whole time that I was in fundamentalism. And whenever towards the end of 2020, going into 2021, whenever I realized that I was wrong about a lot of the beliefs that I had, and not that necessarily all the beliefs were wrong, but a lot of the practices were wrong. A lot of the priorities were out of whack. And when I started to look at those and basically be of the mindset that I'm willing to change anything that I need to change to shed this hypocrisy and basically remove the mask, remove the religious mask from my face, and just be who I really am and admit to who I really am, and not try to hide my insecurities and hide the struggles and the sins that I struggle with and things like that. So that is why I'm naming this series Unmasking Religion. This series is not a series about deconstructing from religion or about leaving Christianity, abandoning the faith, anything like that. But I think at there's a point that a lot of Christians reach where they either grew up in a fundamentalist church, or they wind up joining a fundamentalist church at some point in their lives, and then after a certain amount of time, which for me it was about 10 to 12 years in that fundamentalist church environment, where I started to reach a breaking point to where I had to make a decision. I had to either decide to be completely bought into the mindset that church environment was that they were selling, or that they were promoting, that they were teaching. I had to be bought into that mindset, or I needed to be true to myself and be true to my conscience and let go of all of those presuppositions, and let go of the pride and of the status that I had while in that movement. Any like staff position. I wasn't really in like a paid staff position at any church, but I did help in a lot of leadership with like volunteer positions, like teaching in Sunday school classes, and sometimes leading worship or leading children's church. I did that for about 5 years. And I decided to give all of that up in search of truth and in search of basically trying to pursue Christ in a more meaningful way and pursue what is actually important, what the Bible says is actually important, and what Jesus says is actually important. So that's what this series is about. Anyway, going on to the topics that we're going to cover. So some of these topics, I'm just going to briefly go over them. We're not going to go into detail about my opinions on all of these yet, but we might do like an episode for each one of these and for some other ones too. So one of these is, should we question our faith? So that's one that I think is an important question. And I don't think that the answer is just a simple no. I think that it is important to question. I think you should question everything, to be honest. You shouldn't just blindly accept anything because an authority figure tells you that it's the right thing to believe, because your parents tell you it's the right thing to believe. The Bible even says to test all things to see whether they're from God or not. So we should put everything, basically everything should be on the table, and I think you should question everything. Question the teachings that you grew up with, question the beliefs that you grew up with, question the Bible, question God, question religion, question your faith, whatever it is, you should question it. And this is a statement that I've heard and that has really rung true for me and that I've resonated with. I heard it about 4 years ago on a podcast that I used to listen to. And this saying is, truth never fears a challenge. And that, I think that that's very true. Truth never fears a challenge. If something is true and you question it and you nitpick it and you try to find out what the true answer is, or you try to find out what the what really happens, or what really happened, and what, like, any kind of like Bible interpretation, or you try to find out different things like that. If you simply search and you're searching, genuinely seeking the truth, you're not going to go wrong, because the truth will always win in the end if you're seeking truth. You're not going to fail by questioning it. If it's false, if you question it, then it's gonna fall apart. But if it's true and you question it, then your faith or your resolve in that is going to strengthen, and it's only going to strengthen your faith and your beliefs in it if it is really true. But we're going to talk about that probably in another episode. Also, some other things we might talk about is how to navigate through seasons of doubt and uncertainty in your spirituality. We might talk about who and what is God. That's an interesting question, and that's a question that I don't have the answer to, but I can maybe point you in some different directions that seem helpful to me. And it's a question that I'm still exploring myself, and I probably will be exploring it for the rest of my life. I don't think that's going to be a question that we are all going to have a definite answer on in this lifetime. And then another topic that we might talk about is what to do when the church fails. So, like I said, during my time in fundamentalism, the church environment that I was in failed me, because I got to the point where it wasn't helping me grow any more spiritual. I had all these different problems, and I had some sin in my life, and I had some different struggles I was going through, anxiety, maybe a little bit of depression, and some other issues that were going on, and I wasn't getting any help inside the four walls of the church. So that's an important question, is what do we do when the church fails us? And then here's another important question that I think needs to be discussed is, does God really love everyone? Because we've always been told that God is love, and then there's like different branches of Christianity and different denominations and different sects of Christianity that teach that like God chooses some people for his salvation, and then he damns the rest to hell. And I personally think that that's probably one of the craziest ideas that anyone's ever come up with, and that's called Calvinism. But I'm not here to really talk about that right now. But I think that's an important question to ask: is, does God really love everyone? Because if he doesn't, then does any of this really matter? And then the next thing I have is Christianity the one true religion? And I think again, that's another important question to look at. And you might be surprised at some of the, if you just do some research on that and like what Christ originally taught. And I'm going to give you a spoiler alert here. Jesus Christ wasn't a Christian. He wasn't a quote unquote Christian. He was a Jew. And Christianity was something that was developed after he died. And it was originally called the way that is Christ, and then later we named it Christianity. Well, actually, it was started as an insult towards Christians, towards followers of Christ, that the enemies of Christians used as like a derogatory term. They called them Christians, which meant like little Christ. So yeah, that's something that would be interesting to talk about, is Christianity the one true religion? And then the last thing I have written down here is, are we supposed to stand firm on our beliefs? I'm sure a lot of you have probably been told like you're supposed to be steadfast and unmovable, and there's a verse in the Bible that says that, and I think that it's often taken out of context. But a lot of people, you'll hear preachers talking about standing firm on the fundamentals of the faith, and standing firm on the King James Bible, and on all this different kind of stuff that's like basically man-made rules and man-made beliefs. And like the fundamentals of the faith, for example, that would be an interesting episode to talk about. It's fundamentals of the faith are things that the church fathers and people over the last 2,000 years have established after the fact that Jesus died and rose again and everything. It wasn't stuff that that Jesus said you have to have these 5 fundamentals of the faith or these 10 fundamentals of the faith. It was stuff that we made up and we separate over because someone has a different belief than us about heaven or hell, or about the divinity of Christ, or about the virgin birth, or the Trinity, or all kinds of stuff like that. So that's one more thing I wanted to talk about. And then one that I also think would be an interesting episode to discuss later would be maybe about the doctrine of hell and like eternal conscious torment and things like that, because the more I have studied that over the past few years, I think I'm coming to a realization that a lot of the beliefs I had about that in the past were probably not 100% accurate. And there's no way to fully verify one way or another. We can't prove the existence of hell from a material perspective, but it would be interesting to look at some of the beliefs of people in the Bible and in the Old Testament and things like that, what the ancient Jews believed, if they believed in hell and things like that. So that's something I would like to talk about as well in the future. I don't really have much else for this video, but I just kind of wanted to give you guys a little bit of a teaser, a little bit of a preview of what's to come in this series. So I plan to release the first video this Friday. If you have any particular request, you can feel free to submit that. And I hope to see you then. Anyway, I hope you all have a good rest of your day. It was good to see you, and I hope you all take care, and we'll see you next time.